Brace yourself this winter because experts say homeowners can expect double-digit increases in their heating bills. This is why I use the new mini space heater in my home and absolutely love how quickly it makes my home toasty warm without raising my heating bills. It's compact but strong enough to warm up my bedroom, living room, office, or anywhere else I need nearly instant warmth. Plus, it includes built-in overheat protection and adjustable heat levels from gentle warmth to toasty comfort. Do yourself a favor and grab one up to 60% off this holiday season only at www.staywarmnow.com. Plus, order today and you'll receive free expedited shipping, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and several other free bonuses. Once again, that's www.staywarmnow.com. Give the gift of warmth this holiday season. Good Sunday evening. I'm still reporting on the national debt. The United States is facing a critical problem with its national debt, currently exceeding $36 trillion. How big is this number? The total assets of everything in the United States is valued at only $221 trillion. For the first time, interest payments alone on the $36 trillion debt in the coming year will be $900 billion, more than the entire budget for the Defense Department. The only solution is something called monetary reform. The solution is not complex, nor wrapped in mystical economics jargon. In fact, the solution has already been battle-tested twice in U.S. history. It is the simple reissuance of the longest-serving form of United States money, the United States note. Although U.S. notes have not been reissued since 1994, Congress has never revoked their legal tender status. However, few remain in circulation because of their rarity, so they trade at 2 to 5 times face value. So this is nothing experimental or untried. Debt-free U.S. notes have worked well for the U.S. economy every time they've been issued. The reissuance of the actual paper money is trivial, but their electronic counterparts are not. Why? Because paper notes are only a small fraction of the U.S. money supply these days. However, the symbolism of their reissuance is very important. Notes are something that can be seen, a symbol that can be held, a symbol that change has finally come. The inauguration of President Trump is a very important opportunity for monetary reform that may not come for decades. When he won the election in 2016, he seemed interested in the monetary reform solution, but then I never heard anything back. So that's why I'm pressing so hard on monetary reform in these pre-inaugural days. So what is the national debt? The national debt consists of U.S. bonds, U.S. notes, and U.S. Treasury bills, and other forms of debt which are put up for auction by the U.S. Treasury when Congress wants to spend more money than comes in through taxes. Banks are the biggest purchasers of this debt because although they pay a small rate of interest, they are super safe because they are backed by the good faith and credit of the United States. The U.S. Treasury decides to sell these bonds, bills, etc., when Congress wants to spend more money than comes in through taxation. The confusion over this issue has been because bond dealers and big banks make significant amounts of steady income from the existing debt money system. They want us to believe that there are only two ways out of our national debt problems. One, to borrow more money to pay for needed programs, or two, to cut spending to the bone, better known as the austerity approach. Unfortunately, neither of these two solutions will work. Fortunately, history clearly points to another way, a much smarter way out, the same solution that was employed in colonial America to free us from British colonial rule. The same solution that President Abraham Lincoln used when he issued debt-free U.S. notes to win the American Civil War instead of issuing debt-based bonds. Why did Lincoln take this route? because he was outraged by the exorbitant prices the bond dealers were demanding, up to 36% interest to finance the war. Bond dealers make a lot of money financing government, especially in times of war. Even if they made a fraction of a percent on each contract, the contract amounts are huge. However, this comes at the eventual price of perpetual debt slavery, which is where we are today. However, the debt free money solution does not require national insolvency to fix, and there will be no losses whatsoever to the existing holders of U.S. Treasury bills, notes, bonds, etc. All holders of U.S. debt will be repaid in full at the normal scheduled times of maturity. The only difference is that they would be repaid in United States notes, not Federal Reserve notes. This is not some new, untested concept of macroeconomics. The difference between the current Federal Reserve note and sovereign U.S. notes is that the Federal Reserve notes create the national debt. U.S. notes do not. Which do you think would create a stronger national economy? Historically, when a higher percentage of debt free state money, U.S. notes, is in circulation, it always tends to favor a robust middle class and a thriving economy. However, when more bank money, Federal Reserve notes, are in circulation, as we have today, economic booms and busts are inevitable, and the society trends towards the oligarchy from which this nation fought to escape. Implementation. The changeover could be implemented very quickly in Q1 of 2025. Surprisingly, around one half of the total national debt are bonds, etc., of 3 years duration or less. The remaining debts range from 3 years to 30 years. In other words, the national debt could literally be cut in half in just 3 years after implementation with no negative repercussions whatsoever. An additional bonus would be that every step of this process will bring a visible, substantial reduction in the interest loads paid by the United States on our national debt, which this year will exceed 900 billion per year, more than the size of the entire DoD annual budget. Since U.S. notes look like physical money because they are still valid U.S. money and were for 140 years our longest serving form of U.S. money, there won't be any problem with acceptance. Most people will not even notice the difference in appearance. U.S. notes have a red seal on the front, and Federal Reserve notes have a green seal. If, for example, in Q1, Congress decides to repay only 10% of the incoming bonds being redeemed that year with U.S. notes, then the Secretary of Treasury can carefully monitor the results and make recommendations. However, the effects will be readily transparent on public websites such as the U.S. National Debt Clock. Obviously, the expectation would be that since the incoming U.S. notes and their electronic equivalents do not generate additional debt, and an equal amount of debt money Federal Reserve notes are removed out of the money system, the national debt will immediately start to decline, and markets will react positively. It is important to note that the total money supply, known as the M2 money supply, would remain stable. Only the national debt and the interest paid on that debt would decline. If Congress wanted to reduce the national money supply, they could do that by increasing federal taxation. Maintaining a constant money supply avoids the political charge of firing up the printing presses in Washington. Consequently, for every new U.S. note put into circulation during the changeover period, a Federal Reserve note would be destroyed. During Q1 of the implementation period, Congress would simply set the goals for how much money would be in the system with great precision. Instead of depending on the Fed's interest rate changes to affect the quantity, we could quickly tune the economic engine of the United States for maximal power in 1 minute. Most Americans do not realize that today our current money system is entirely based upon debt. Most people, even most politicians, believe that the approach we're changing back to is a system that is already in place. In fact, it may be advantageous for the president to not make a big deal out of introducing the return of the United States note and the gradual disappearance of the Federal Reserve note. In fact, there is no need to declare the dissolution of the Federal Reserve System. They can continue their check clearing operations between banks, but a small clique of bankers should never again be in control of the quantity of U.S. money in the system. The ultimate power over the economic engine of our republic would be returned into the hands of we, the people of the United States, operating through our closest elected representatives, the Congress of the United States. Currently, few understand that who controls the quantity of money in the system are in overall control. The U.S. Constitution clearly grants this power to the Congress of the United States. Over the years, however, this power has been stolen by the banks, especially the biggest banks. A new POTUS should urge Congress in his inaugural address to reclaim its constitutional power over our money by the simple wording of Article 1, Section 8. The Congress shall have power to coin money and regulate the value thereof. It is important to realize that the term coin in 1776 did not necessitate metallic coin. In colonial days, some money was made of leather, and the act of stamping designs into the leather was still known as coining. So the return to debt-free money controlled by Congress is solidly constitutional because Congress and only Congress will be responsible for regulating the value by adjusting the quantity of money in the system. It would be a rather risky political proposition for banks and bond dealers to openly oppose such clear constitutional language once we understand the meaning for coin. I'm still reporting from just outside the citadel of world freedom. Good day.